Welcome to the special edition of the Montreal Canadiens, of course, locker room reporter on a great Tuesday night, January 9, 2024. Our co-host, Marko is going to join me live talking about different subject about the Montreal Canadiens. The last 24 hours, a lot of things about David Rebacker, about Gunther Gauthier, the Ken Hughes show at the Antichambre yesterday, I believe it was, and many other things. Langstrom on the waiver, and then the trade bait of the Trevor Zegras. So we decided to come here for approximately 60 minutes talking about everything about the Montreal Canadiens. I think it would be a great opportunity to sharing with all of you in the chat about the Montreal Canadiens. We know Montreal going to be on the ice the next two nights. They're going to play at the Flyers. At the Wells Fargo, almost said the Spectrum, but there's a Wells Fargo Arena. And then they're going to return at home again as soon as the Sharks. They are losing right now 5-1 against the Toronto Maple Leafs. 10 game in NHL tonight. Busy night for the around the NHL for this evening. Mr. Marko, welcome in the house. Thanks to be with me tonight. I appreciate a lot the time you gave to us on the great evening.
So much going on over the last 24 hours, Coach, like you said, just rather than going on Twitter and trying to, chat with people, this is the people that are great to talk about hockey with. I love talking about hockey with our chat. So lots of interesting things happening over the last 24 hours. This 60 minutes, I think, is going to fly by. Like, we have so much to talk about. So really looking forward to it.
You're absolutely about that. We miss Mr. Nartap, and Nartap have some kind of engagement right now, so maybe we'll pop up a little bit later, but definitely we're going to talk about different things. That's the subject of the night that we got tonight. Very quickly, we're going to show to you guys is about Zegras and Montreal. This is a rumor get out after the trade of Gunther Gauthier to the Anaheim Ducks, where Pat Verbeek possible he would like to trade a player like Zegras because something happening during the off-season when he didn't want to sign his contract and maybe kind of disagreement between Verbeek. We know Verbeek is old school and is a tough negotiator. And when I think he's assistant GM, is this Sullivan?
I'm not sure, but we know that Pat Verbeek was trained by Steve Yzerman, right?
So, yeah. But his assistant GM is worse. Like, this is the biggest number one negotiator in the NHL. I think it's Sullivan. I could be wrong. My name in my head is John Sullivan, but I could be wrong about that. But that's what is. Anyhow, you don't mess with them for sure about that. We have a few people knock the door, so we're going to go quickly before, and then we're going to try talk about everything. First of all, Larry Lavallée is in the house for Tucson in Arizona. Roy for Bangkok is in the house. Rick from the Lake House with Dimitra around the Halifax area. Claude Richard from Ottawa. We have Gary Cournoyer, the UPS driver directly from the island of Montreal. And then we have Mr. Randy Walkman sits somewhere in Alberta. Mr. Randy was hopefully doing well. And we have Mr. Michael DeVillano back in Dream is in the house tonight. Welcome back, Michael. Hopefully doing well. Not sure he's in California, Nashville, Austin, or somewhere around the world. Etienne Morin knocked the door tonight. Watch out your head. Here we go. That's happening again. This is every time on this one. I don't know. Is it whatever it is?
In my head, the top of my head is used to it. I've gotten blisters on the top of my head.
Exactly. Luc Fortin knocked the door. Thanks so much, Luc, to be with our Canadian show. Following before that, Mark Elliott, what they want for Zegras. It cannot be defenseman. They have plenty about that one over there. William McClary back in the house tonight. Welcome, Mr. William McClary. Sam Pollock was a legendary, tough negotiator. I agree with you, Roy, and not only about negotiator, but also Roy about make a trade or steal players around the Montreal area over anybody else. I can.
That was before a players' association, though, that he could be tough on negotiations, right? Kind of a different world, like where you could hand over, write the number on the back of an envelope, give it to the player, and that was your contract for the year. So kind of different times, but yeah. Sam Pollock is legendary.
AK is in the house. Andy Koivula is in the house tonight. Another from Alberta. I don't know what's the weather from the west to the east. I look like you have some snow in Toronto.
Huge snowstorm here. Like we're being pelted probably about at least 6 inches of snow probably in the last couple of days. It's snowing like crazy right now. So big time.
There we go. That's in January, what we expect, right?
Exactly. Yeah. No, it's all part of being Canadian. It's great.
There we go. So first of all, we're going to maybe go right away on the Montreal Canadiens news today. The Montreal Canadiens has sent Gustav Lindstrom on the waiver today. Some rumors said possibly he's going to be drafted. He's only 24 years old, right defenseman. Some team, maybe Chicago or maybe other team, could maybe add a player like Lindstrom. We know what he did before with the Detroit Red Wings, play a couple of games with the Montreal Canadiens. Again, too many defensemen in Montreal at this moment. I think the reason behind that, I put after that, RHP is traveling with the Flyers. I would not be surprised they add RHP in the roster, and that will open up. They need a spot, and that's the reason I believe they remove Lindstrom today. I could be wrong here, but it's a question the days RHP should be back in the roster, take the spot, and a minute. So I would like to hear that maybe add a little bit more information about that.
Yeah, so I think you're right, Coach. Like Lindstrom is, he played pretty well. Like when he was, playing with Montreal. Like I think he's a serviceable six defenseman, right-handed. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets snatched up by another team. Is it the end of the world for Montreal? Like you said, we have so much depth. Ideally, you'd want to lose a left-handed defenseman, not a right-handed defenseman, but I don't think he's really part of the long-term plan. For those who don't remember, he was part of the Jeff Petrie trade, so not the end of the world. I think you're right, Coach, about RHP. I watched some clips of him in practice this morning, and he looks pretty good, like lots of energy and seemed to be moving around really well. St. Louis did say that he wasn't expecting any changes to the lineup for next game other than Primo, who was going to be the starter for Montreal. But that was before that they announced that Lindstrom was down and that they had the roster spot. So who knows? Like you said, if it's not this game, then certainly we can expect him to come up soon. And I think he'll be a welcome addition to the lineup. You kind of forget the energy and the desperation that he plays with. I think he'll fit right into kind of how Montreal has been playing over the last couple of weeks. So I'm very excited to see him back. Again, he's not somebody that we should expect is going to come in and be a savior or anything like that, but just we don't have a lot of left-handed shots in the lineup, Coach, that can, there's a lot of lines that have 3 right-handed shots. So maybe even some second unit power play time for him. That second unit hasn't really been playing super well, and they have a lot of, like, there's Gallagher.
Yeah, the only problem you have already Gallagher there, but
yeah. So we'll see, but either way will be a good addition. I think we'll all be excited to see him back. He just works so hard, right? And Coach, we're talking about Martin St. Louis wanting some predictability in the players, and we're talking about Jack-Eye and how that's something he needs to work on to be called back up, is the predictability of what you bring when you're on the ice. And I think it's easy to say that Harvey Pinard is the most predictable player that St. Louis has. He knows no matter who he's playing with, what time of the game, Harvey Pinard's always going to play the same way. So always good to bring a guy like that back in the lineup for sure.
A great point about that. Will be interesting what he's going to do. Definitely, if not tomorrow night, San Jose, or the next game this weekend. I think it's Edmonton, right? Saturday. It's Edmonton. Just curious, before asking this question, we have a few people knock the door. Our moderator, Ron with Kings, first of the night, pop up tonight. Before that, Mr. Robert Webb is in the house tonight. Habs Nation knocked the door. Thanks so much. John Garage joined the show. We have Mark Elliott. I think I said about this to him a little bit earlier. And then we have Roy said, which Petrie trade when he was traded the Detroit Red Wings, Roy, Gustav Lindstrom was part of that deal back to Montreal and return. We have notre ami de Trois-Rivières, de Vieux Croton. Longtemps, je n'ai pas entendu parler de ça. Bien Croton de Trois-Rivières. So Zegras in Montreal, no, not yet, but the conversation is in circulation around Montreal about maybe Zegras could be a player what Montreal could looking for if they have an agreement. Tonight we have Mr. Mark D699 in the house tonight. Welcome in the house. Long time we don't see you around. Thanks to be with our Canadian show. So a lot of people, a lot of snow, and a lot of snow everywhere. And then they have a lot of cold weather is coming this weekend from Andy and the chat. Last question about that before we move on. Primo tomorrow. Who next? Who next?
I'd probably say it's going to be, because the reason that they have Primo coming in, it's going to be 14 days since the last time that he would have started. And then on top of that, Philly is his hometown, right? So bit of a prop to the kid to play in his hometown in front of family and friends. And then I think it makes sense you put in Allen, for the game against San Jose. I like that because in theory, San Jose should be the easiest game. It's kind of maybe a bit of a trap game. But again, like Allen is only won, I think, one out of his last 10 games or something like that. So it would just be nice to give him the opportunity to get a win for Jake Allen. And then you come back with the toughest game probably of the week against Edmonton. You come back with Montembeault, would be my guess.
And now we have a news RDP Zegras on my fantasy. Of course, he just missed about half of the season. Now he left the game for about an injury his leg. So I don't know news about that. Talking about San Jose, 7-1 Toronto right now. Again, the San Jose Sharks and the Panthers take the lead 2-1 against the Blues. The Ducks lead 3-0. The Canucks, guys, 4-1 against the Islanders. The Kraken, I don't know with the Buffalo Sabres, guys. I don't know how Montreal lost 6-1, but they're losing right now 5-2. Kraken have a really good month of December. I think they turn after Thanksgiving. I would love to see the number of the point and NHL by the team, right? Since Thanksgiving until tonight, I believe Kraken maybe at least top 15, maybe top 10, Marco.
Yeah, probably top 10. Definitely a team on the rise. Yeah, for sure.
And then the Kings, honestly, are beating the Tampa Bay Lightning by 2-0. The Lightning lost 4 of the last 6 games at home.
LA really needing that win too, right? Like they were a bit, for the first time this year, kind of a little bit of a slump as well with LA. So big game for LA. Lots of concerns if you're Tampa Bay right now, like kind of sliding out of the playoff picture a little bit here, Coach. Like it's going to be tough. I think we all expect that there's going to be more Metro teams than Atlantic Division teams maybe for the playoffs. And
it's funny because at the beginning, like we said, in October, November, at least in November, we thought it's going to be maybe 5 from Athletic and then 3 for the what. It's going to be at least 4 and 4, maybe more.
Washington and Philly, right? They're the ones that are kind of really complicating things, right? Like those are 2 teams I didn't see at all near the playoff picture, to be honest. Washington a bit closer, but I saw Philly, in the bottom, in the bottom 5 of the league again. But you can't underestimate, I guess, the value of Sean Couturier. What an amazing, kind of impact he's had coming back on that Philadelphia team. And just one other year of Tortorella, having, and that's a good segue probably to our conversation about Cutter Gauthier, right? Like a lot of conversation out there, Coach, like curious about your thought on this, right? So Cutter Gauthier's agent and himself, have decided to not really provide a reason as to why he didn't want to play in Philadelphia, and I used to work in marketing and in corporate communications. We often say that if you don't provide a narrative, if you don't provide a story for the public to consume, then they'll just make up their own story, right? So sometimes not saying anything is worse than saying something because the public is just going to keep trying to guess why, and it just creates all these stories, right? So do you think it was the wrong move, for Cutter Gauthier not to come out, because the report that we're seeing right now is that Gauthier never really publicly, he certainly hasn't publicly said why he didn't want to go to Philly. And then Daniel Birard is saying that they still don't know why he didn't want to play in Philadelphia. right? And there's been some quotes from his agent saying that they want to take the high road and they're not going to go into it. But in your opinion, coach, is it just better to be transparent if you're Cutter Gauthier in this situation? It's going to follow him around.
Are you talking about the Flyers organization?
I'm talking about Cutter Gauthier. Like, why, if you're Cutter Gauthier and his entourage, his agent, why wouldn't you, like, when you don't come out and publicly say why you didn't want to go to the Flyers, then all you're going to do, the story is just going to keep going and going, and people are going to make up stories, and it's just going to get out of hand, right?
Yeah, so I think the best for him right now is to wait, see what the Flyers do first, and then after that, when he's gonna be, he's still not in NHL yet. He playing NCAA, and honestly, this is the reason. If he was already, trade for the Ducks to the Ducks, he play already in NHL. You're going to hear a little bit quicker, faster. I think he just let it go, and then after that, you're going to talk about this properly at the right time, I believe. Because I was talking with someone in the chat where I'm talking about hockey, and then everybody's talking about Daniel Brière. He does this, everything like that. So look, this is a one side. It's like everything else, right? At divorce, you wear only one side of the divorce. You have to wear the other side of the divorce before you judge something happening. So we have to wait a little bit more about Gauthier. For me, for what we heard, it's really a contract negotiation problem. He wanted to have his contract last year. I believe he's the only one of the top 10 at that draft. They have no contract, but I could be wrong.
Yeah.
But this is one reason. And then the Flyers want to wait because they don't want to go
overage, yeah, with the bonuses for his.
So they want to wait, and then they have the transition between the GM and everything like that. So I think overall, but again, I think everything. This is already start during the summer, right? We refuse to go to camp. We did not do a lot of search about this. We don't go deep about this. But secondly, it's one, you refuse to meet John Leclerc and
Patrick Sharp.
All right, at the World Junior Championship. So I think at that moment it was the end for him with the Flyers. And look, both teams win in that situation for me. The Anaheim got a solid forward, 6'3", and the Duck get a great defenseman. Jimmy Trestle, guys, is a great defenseman. Unfortunately, he was hurt.
Injured. So that's the thing, right, Coach? Like, so Cutter Gauthier was selected 5th overall, and Drysdale was selected 6th overall. So, and usually, if we go by the Habs, rationale, and I think everybody would agree that because Cutter Gauthier is probably going to be a winger in the NHL, even though he's known as a center, he plays center. I think he's probably going to be a winger, right? So, especially now that he's going to be playing in Anaheim, there's no way that he's going to play center ahead of Carlson and McTavish. So, I'm wondering, like, I think it tells you a little bit about how the Ducks and even the Flyers value Drysdale, because the Anaheim had to actually throw in a second round pick on top of that. And they're, in terms of draft ranking, they're pretty much the same, right? So yes, Drysdale's a good, obviously he has, some good upside, but he's an undersized right-handed defenseman with some injury problems, right? So there's some people out there that are kind of debating whether Philadelphia could have waited a bit more. Like, they were talking to 18, 20 teams, apparently, and they somehow were able to keep it all secret, which is amazing in 2024. But listen, like, I don't think, I think it's a good trade for both teams, but you can see that Anaheim had to give a little bit more because of Drysdale, like with the injury issues. And, Coach, you've said it before, right? Not a lot of teams win with undersized defensemen in their top 4, right? So we'll see how it plays out. It's one of those trades that you'll have to look at. It's kind of, remember, like the Seth Jones for Johansson trade, like that was a really big, a young center for a young defenseman. And now only really 8 years later, can you really look and see kind of who won that trade, right? It's going to be one of those that's going to take a while to really understand who got the best of the deal. You'd imagine that second round pick from Anaheim is, even if it's for 2025, is still going to be a relatively high pick, right? Like probably top 15 at least.
Yeah, sorry about that.
40.
And Rabinov is in the house. Nicolas de Goubi-Bonneau is in the house. Habs Nation, we said. A lot of great comments from Roy in the chat. Ron talk about Lindros. ADP talk about the injury of the Zegras. And Randy talk about Gauthier is a monster. And Randy is watching on his left side of his eyes. And Marco, the Flames.
1-1 right now, Ottawa and Cap.
Over there.
Yeah.
The reason we talk about Gauthier is because the trade Gauthier, the Ducks, the conversation about they don't want to report over there with blah, blah, blah. But last year, at the trade, at the NHL draft, the phone was ring a lot to Ken Hughes. First of all, the Nashville Predators want to make a big splash. It looked like they offer Askarov and a 50th overall pick for the 5th overall pick. This is what we heard. The second rumor is the Flyers knocked the door to get to trade Cutter Gauthier to the Montreal Canadiens to the 5th overall pick, and both time Ken Hughes did not move anything about that. So my question to you, it would be my question, my poll question today. By the way, I think we have 600 people from last night. Rebecca versus Gauthier is not still a draft Rebecca. So my question is like, what do you do if you get a phone call last year at the number 5 before you select your players? Do you trade your 5th overall pick for Gauthier? That's the first thing.
Yeah. Well, so first of all, like, how busy was Kent Hughes? You know, because Coach, remember, like, you know, I think during the draft, you know, we're all like, well, it wasn't as exciting as last year, you know, like, because it was hard to beat the draft, the Slavkovsky draft. There's so many things going on, but it sounds like we were pretty close to having a pretty almost equally exciting draft last year. It just never happened, right? So you have two really, as far as we know, two very serious offers for that 5th round pick. I think they were crazy not to take the Nashville offer, to be honest. Askarov plus a 15th overall. I think that would be a really, really nice move for them. For this move here, same thing. You know, like, so what this tells me is that Montreal really likes Reinbacher a lot, because not only did they not pick Mitchkov, but they also refused 2 very, very good trades for him. So as an organization, and we've heard Kent Hughes say this before, that and I think some people have doubted how honest they were about this, but they said it was almost unanimous across all their scouts and all the management team that they should pick Reinbacher, right? So to me, it seems pretty consistent though, like, because they had a lot of different options with this pick. So what this tells me is, you know, I don't believe that they probably did that much homework on Gauthier before the draft. Like, it's one of those things, you know, that maybe they knew a little bit about him. But to me, it's more about how the Habs felt about Reinbacher at the time is very telling, right? So for me personally, I really like the Askarov trade probably even more rather than just a 1-for-1, because then you're getting 2 very good assets, right? Askarov, and then, like, who got selected? Like, wouldn't we be close to getting a player like Benson or somebody like that? Maybe if we're around the 15th. When did Benson get picked? 17th, I think.
Which one?
Benson?
Well, no, draft. It was 11, 10,
Oh, okay.
12.
Okay. But I think at 15, I think you're still
Same
getting
with Vancouver, 12, I believe.
Yeah. But I still think at 15, you're getting a good player, right? So out of those 2 moves, I would have chosen the Nashville trade personally. But this is still a very good move. So, you know, Gauthier, you know, to be honest, like, you know, he is being called a power forward. To me, he's more of a sniper. Like, if you watched him during the World Juniors, he's not somebody that really plays that aggressive of a game. You know, he's really somebody that plays more. He's like a giant Cole Caulfield, right? In the sense where he's looking for openings, almost like a sniper, and trying to get a one-timer off, more so than somebody who is using his body, driving the net, and things like that. Now, obviously, with the body frame that he has the ability to do that. But to me, the best power forward on the U.S. team at the World Juniors was Rutger McGroarty, not Cutter Gauthier, if you ask me. So all that being said, Coach, would I have traded the 5th overall pick for Gauthier based on what the Habs' needs are? Yes, that's probably a move that I would have done, right? But again, they have a lot more information than I have. It's clear that not just because they turned down both those trades, but they also didn't draft Michkov for whatever reason. They've chosen several times. They had it seems like a lot of different options, and they decide to go with Reinbacher. So it says a lot about how they feel about him. What about you, Coach? Like, would you have pulled the trigger on that? Like, I saw your video. It's not like your video was huge mistake by Habs. I'm assuming you also feel it was kind of a mistake, right?
Yeah, and the reason behind that for me, first of all, we have a few people knock the door. Rabina GSM, I said earlier, Chris Henson is in the house. Super Drew 932 is in the house. Mitch Bellin is in the house. Welcome. A lot of great comments, guys. Pick up, continue to make all those comments in the chat. That'd be great. I want to mention one thing about this from Bob. Uncle is in the house tonight. Thanks so much, Bob, to get there. Now, Chris, you want to make a rectification there. He said the first rumor is wrong. It was dependent on the one of the center being at the 5. No center at 5. It does not make.
True.
You're absolutely right about
That's
Chris,
true.
but the point behind that is they will still trade the 5th overall pick if Smith or whatever it is, maybe Carlson, whatever is the name they was looking for to trade Askarov for the 15 overall pick. So great to mention that, Chris, about this. For that, Etienne Morin is in the house, is another one there. And then Gary Montebu is good. Askarov, I don't think so, Gary. At long term, I think Askarov is going to be a solid goaltender in NHL. About that, Randy, we just mentioned what is happening there. It was not available. They are therefore the trade could not happen. A great Chris about this. As Najee Woolley to 5th pick to draft Reinbacher. Also, Montreal made a good pick at drafting Reinbacher. So back at your question again to be sure I can answer back. By the way, that we just jinxed the Kings 2-2 now Tampa Bay.
Ooh. Cam Talbot, I still don't trust that guy. If I'm the Kings, I know he's going to the All-Star game and everything, but Coach, like if you're the LA Kings, you really want to go into the playoffs with Cam Talbot?
Overloading right now. It's too much over.
For sure.
I think he could be a solid goaltender if you use him, 2 times per week max, right? So it's about approximately 8 times per month. That's it. That's all. But right now they use him maybe 12 times. So it's just an overload about that. A little bit like Jake Allen at the end of the night. So the question asking me if I will trade Reinbacher for Gauthier, I would say to you, yes. Because I think it's a Josh Anderson on the left side and a Josh Anderson better at the end of the night. And because everything is based for one thing, guys. The NHL Draft 2024, whatever you are in the draft top 20, whatever you are, if you are top 8, the defenseman you're going to select is going to be better at David Reinbacher. So always keep this on your mind behind that, the reason I'm talking about. So for me, if they think that, we don't have any kind of player like Gauthier, and we get a solid players. I think Gauthier, in my opinion, is better to, but was another question. I think it's better to Michkov. I think it's better to Michkov because the problem, everything like that. I think it's better to Rand Leonard. And then for me, because his physicality, the size, I think it would be better. It would be better at the one you hit the playoff, better at Benson, in my opinion. So if you think about that.
So I totally get what you're saying, but I haven't seen Cutter Gauthier play that physical.
Are you going to watch him on the Boston College show there?
I have.
No, he's not going to be a fighter like Josh Anderson, anything like that. But it's a prototype players, in my opinion, better at Matthew Nice.
I hope so. Like from what I've seen from him is that he underuses his size. He doesn't really use it to his advantage. He, for my taste, anyways, for a guy that's that big and that you're going to call an elite power forward, kind of like Slavkovsky, right? Like it's kind of the opposite of Slavkovsky. Slavkovsky is amazing at winning board battles and doing all the small
This
things
is a
really well.
great point about this, Marco. Look,
Yeah.
Sikorsky, what he did at the beginning. Look what he's looking now. And the reason that I was said, this is, you're right when you talk about Gauthier, but when you go to get that level, one day we said to him, look, your body you have. Look, this is, if you want to stay in it, not stay in it, but if you want to become the great hockey player here,
Elite there.
you
Yeah,
need to use your body properly the right way. And what
Exactly.
Marco said, I think is you don't have to destroy the guy through the
No,
glasses. It's to use your
no.
body properly to win your battle, to win a battle, but also puck protection, everything like that. And that's what I believe you talk about. But when you play the team junior, your size is a little bit bigger, but usually it's really a Jacky. Jacky guys, when you play in the OHL, always they would tell him he does not box out because it was not necessary to box out anybody. Not boxing, box out is and then from the net, because he was bigger to anybody else. For me,
Yeah.
this one I'm not too much worried about that. I could be wrong here, but that's the reason I can explain to you. But a great point, Coach. I'm sorry if I cut you that way.
No. So I totally get it. So when it comes to these things, Coach, like, I'm sure that Habs management interviewed Cutter Gauthier during that draft. So they probably know him quite a bit, right? So I'm curious as to what again, like to me, it's they must love Reinbacher in order, because I think we all see that this is the kind of player that they need, right? Like they need a left-hand shot, big body that can score goals. So what is it about Cutter Gauthier that Kent Hughes didn't like? What is it? Like what could it be? Is it like if it's not hockey related, if it's not the potential or talent related, what else could it be? I don't want to start rumors or whatever, but based on kind of, you can have an opinion as to whether, okay, it is his right not to kind of sign with the team and do all that. But what's different from what Cutter Gauthier did than other players who have, like, let's say Fox and other players who have decided not to sign with their teams? He just flat out refused to even talk to them, right? And Michkov did very similar things in his, like when he was being drafted, right? There's certain teams that he refused to meet with leading up to the draft. So maybe Montreal, a valid concern for them is, okay, Cutter Gauthier is not willing to play for Philadelphia. Is he going to be willing to play for Montreal? Are you going to really take that risk? So what we've learned about Kent Hughes is that I don't think he's somebody that takes a lot of risks when it comes to these kinds of things, right? Like he can be pretty conservative. Just by not drafting Michkov, we can pretty much determine that he wasn't willing to gamble on a player like that. So with Cutter Gauthier, if you're Montreal, I don't think there's anything from a hockey perspective that they wouldn't like, because again, like even though you can argue, like I was saying, that he doesn't use his body as much as he should, he's not as physical as he should. You're right. Like, after time learning how to play the right way and with the right coaching, you can't train big and strong, right? Like it's the same thing with Slavkovsky. So to me, the only reason that Hughes wouldn't have traded that 5th-round pick for Cutter Gauthier is a couple of reasons. A, they legitimately liked Reinbacher better, and that could be true. And who knows? We'll only know, 5-6 years from now. Maybe Reinbacher ends up being like, a top 2 right-hand defenseman that plays like 26 minutes a game and is an amazing two-way defenseman, and he's amazing. And then maybe the Habs management will win the day that way. Or the other reason is that they also had some concerns about whether it would work with Cutter Gauthier in Montreal. For whatever reason, they didn't think maybe he wants to be on the West Coast, or maybe they've heard something about his character. Whatever it is, there's a reason, because on paper, Cutter Gauthier hits all the criteria that Montreal Canadiens would be looking for in a player, right? They have to be looking for a left-handed shot that is big, that can score. Like he fits the bill. So, coach, like, what other reason could there be if it wasn't something other than some risk that we don't know about? Because it's clear that they would like the player, right?
Yeah. Sorry about that. I was just saying sorry for
Yeah.
the people in the chat about that. No, everything you said, you're absolutely right about this. But again, um, the time will tell us exactly. And I try to explain to people the reason why I would trade for Gauthier. And at the end of the show, you're going to understand my situation about that one over there. So at the end, you don't trade Rebecca, right?
I would have traded Reinbacher for Gauthier unless there's something that I learned. Like, again, we don't have all the same information that they have, right? They might have some information saying that there's no way Gauthier would ever play in Montreal, or he would just, in the long term, he wouldn't want to play in
Yeah, they
Montreal.
do the homework, right? They know everything about that. I think the fact like um, he's been to the team national team connection with Caulfield, play over there, and the rest. You talk about his son Jack, and also he played for Boston, Boston
Yeah,
College, Boston College. So I know they will know exactly if they want to figure out about Gado Gauthier. I
I would
believe
find
at
it
the end
hard
of the day,
to.
guys, the reason they did not trade Gauthier is they have many team at the selection 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. One David Rebacker. That's simple. It was the top players after the top four. Arizona, if Montreal don't select Rebacker, they select Rebacker. Philadelphia trade Gauthier to get Rebacker.
Yeah,
Nashville want to move for 15 and Askarov if the center you talk about this, but I think they would love to get Rebacker at the end of the day. So there are many teams. If whatever it will be, Rebacker was really the high demand for the Montreal Canadiens. So I think at the end of the day, um, it's
well,
not
that's what I was
necessarily
saying.
what Gauthier rumor around him. It's more about Rebacker for the Montreal. It was a
Yeah,
better selection
that's yeah,
at
yeah. That
Gauthier.
was what, those are my two options. Either A, they just like Brian Bacher more than Gauthier, which is completely legitimate. We like I said, it's going to take years for us to know if they were right, but that's either A, they just like the player more. And again, if all these teams are trying to trade with you to go and get him, that just reinforces the fact that, okay, yeah, we have the right guy here, right?
Yeah.
Or if for some reason they were tempted by Cutter Gauthier, they felt that he was a superior player for their team at that time, but there was something that we don't know about, because on paper, from a hockey perspective, he has everything that Montreal would be looking for at that point. So it's one of those two reasons. They like Reinbacher more, or there is something they were concerned about that isn't hockey related. Those would be the two reasons.
All right.
Yep.
Next.
It's okay. Yep. Ooh, yikes. This is a scary one, Coach. Like you're chewing, so I'll kind of tee it up for us. So as a result of all this, as you can understand, so Cutter Gauthier moves over to Anaheim. Anaheim, they send back, Drysdale. Now, like you were saying, Coach, this upcoming draft in 2024 is literally filled with really high-end defensemen, right? So if you're Pat Verbeek, first of all, you already have a lot of, you have a great pipeline of young defensemen already. And if for some reason you're not happy with the pipeline that you have, that, with your pick that is probably going to be a pretty high pick, at least in the top 5 this year, then you're going to get another really good defenseman if you want, that could replace Drysdale in what you're doing. That's even if you feel you need to replace that body. So now that that's happened, I think naturally a lot of the hockey world is thinking, okay, so if you look at Anaheim up front now with all the assets that they have, so you're talking about McTavish, Carlson, all the young great players that they have up front, does that mean that Zegras is already in play? Now, if you look at the history there, Zegras had a very, very tough negotiation, coach, like you were saying off the top of the show with Pat Verbeek. They ended up just going with a more of a bridge deal instead, while a lot of his best buddy, Cole Caulfield, signed long-term with his team. So probably a tough pill to swallow if you're Zegras. So a very, very tough negotiation. Probably some egos were bruised. From what we hear, these negotiations can be very savage, right? Like if you're the team, you're having to point out negative points about the player, and it can be kind of destructive, right? Like these kinds of conversations. So, with all that being said, that there's a pretty strong possibility, and there's word out there. Darren Dreger was reporting that although he's not, like, Anaheim is not shopping him, they are certainly open to moving him, and they're at least listening, or at least they're being contacted about Trevor Zegras. So naturally, there's a lot of connections between Trevor Zegras and Montreal, or Anaheim and Montreal, just because they, in some ways, they're natural trade partners, because Montreal is looking for a forward. I'm not sure really Anaheim is looking for defense, but maybe they would, right? So bottom line, the question is, and it's all over Twitter, everybody's talking about it today, and coach, we've talked about this over the last couple of weeks over many shows. Montreal has so much depth on left-hand D that we've talked about, okay, what makes more sense? You're moving either Matheson, or you're trading somebody like Caden Gooley, who's probably your most valuable trade chip, to go out and get a top line elite forward, which is the biggest thing that's missing, right? So the big question for today's show, do you do it? Do you trade a Caden Gooley for Trevor Zegras? Is this something that you're willing to do? Is it the type of player that you think would fit well with the Montreal Canadiens? Is Caden Gooley somebody that you're willing to trade? Potentially somebody that could be, in the leadership group in the future. So, guys, we want to hear from you about this. I think Coach and I have some strong opinions about this. Coach, why don't you go ahead first and tell us how you feel about this? Like, where do you fall on this spectrum of whether you would be willing to sacrifice somebody like Gooley, and do you think Trevor Zegras would be a good fit in Montreal?
Yes, here we go. Well, a lot of people in the chat just knocked the door. Mr. Patrick Leblanc pop up. I don't know what is your bet today, Patrick. I cannot go to bed tonight without knowing if you win or not tonight. So you have to tell me, Patrick, what was your bet tonight? And then Mark, welcome in the house. Not Mark, but René Andrich is in the house. I thank Michael. If you see my pose checking, Bourne is back also, and Nick is star. Jesus Zegras is another Toronto skilled player that plays soft for JSM. About that one over there. So for me, guys, Ottawa just scored a goal. Take the lead 2-1, by the way. Like Edmonton take the lead 2-1 against Blackhawks. For me, what I'm taking is this part. If you want to get a top 6 forward, you have to give something in return. And the left side of the Montreal Canadiens is where really they have a lot of high-value players. You have Hudson and Caden Gooley. I believe they are the top 2 players for highest you can get in return. And that's why, for me, if you want to get Trevor Zegras, that will cost you Caden Gooley. Now, the problem behind that, Marco, honestly, it's maybe the Anaheim Ducks. It's not a good partner, or the Montreal are not a good partnership or a good partner fit at what the Ducks are looking for, in my opinion. I could be wrong here, but I could be, because I think the Ducks would like to get a top 6 and return a prospect, or maybe a first round pick in return. And that's the only problem behind that. But whatsoever, Mr. Marco, is we talk about Zegras right now. But we could talk about any other players in the NHL top 6, Mr. Marco. And I would say to you, I would trade tonight Caden Gooley. The reason behind that is Montreal Canadiens are going to select top 10 and maybe top 8 and maybe top 6. We don't know what will be the standing at the end of the year. But for me, maybe not right now to trade Zegras. We don't have to trade him right now, and we have to wait. We can wait at this off summer, just before the NHL draft at the end of the day, Mr. Marco. For me, I will trade Kenan Cole to get a first one because my next defenseman I'm going to select this year is going to be better to any other defenseman we have in Montreal. Whatever you tell me now, it will happening. If you talk about Liskunov, the player who plays right now for the Michigan State, I know Zaliev, I would love if he wasn't a Russian, but guy is the next Shara in NHL. He's already 6'7" right now. Big giraffe at the defenseman play and the KHL right there. And you have Yaremchuk play right now in the WHL with the Calgary. And he is another big 6'2", 6'3". You have a Carter, I believe, first name. The brother, David Chirecek. Adam Chirecek, I believe overall is a better player. Chirecek brother have a better power slap shot, but Adam is a really great skater and he carry on the puck more to his brother David. So Adam Chirecek is another one over there. We can talk about Dickinson, Sam Dickinson, I believe his first name, another defenseman, and I can go two more, and all of them, it's not the same, and maybe not the same. It's better when we talk about this. So if Montreal is go there, I'll be shocked if they pick another forward this year. I think they will go with a defenseman. Maybe I'm wrong here because the quality of defenseman versus the second level of forward, Marco. Not talking about Celebrine, Dimitrov, and is it Elzeman? I think it is, right? So they are the top three forward. They're going to go like that. Dimitrov guy is almost better to Michkov, and depend the prime going to get and Russia. He's going to be maybe go a little bit lower. But after that, 5 to 10 guys, it's all about defensemen. Is it a forward you believe Marco could be better? Catton, Elisius, Linkstrom. For me, this not the guarantee is going to be a top line over there. They will be a good top 9, but I think I wouldn't be shocked Montreal get a selection of defensemen this year to make a big, huge trade after that to get a top players in NHL. We talk about Zegras tonight, but that's the reason. If you go that way, I would trade for me because you can get another defenseman. Now you have, and my point behind that is Montreal have a lot of defensemen. Angstrom, Hudson, Strobel, Jekai, and then after that you have Rebecca, MEILLEUR, and then you have Barron with the Montreal Canadiens, and you have the Russian Kushenov. We don't talk about him. And then you add another defenseman on this selection draft. With that, you can get Gauthier, and you can get Zegras, or you can get another forward, Marco, for that. Now, you want to go the next level, lower level, I think you have to keep Coley, and then you have to trade another, like a Strobel, possible, a player like him, to get another players. But that would be my selection about that if I was to do it. I know the people that want to get Coley, but if you want to pay the price, you have to get someone in the big, and the Montreal Canadiens are they're going to get that draft pick. That's the reason I would trade Coley, because they can get a great defenseman. That's the reason behind. Hopefully that answers your question about that.
That's a very, very long answer, but I don't think you still answered the question. Like, so you've laid out your whole strategy for how you would do the draft and everything, but is Zegras the guy that you would move? Whichever asset it is Zegras the guy that you're doing to going
it will
to
fit
get?
with the Montreal Canadiens on your top 6.
Okay. But
So
to win
for
a
me,
Stanley Cup,
I will trade for that.
okay, so if you're Kent Hughes, Zegras is a
So
guy
to
you'd
give
be
you that,
targeting.
Marco is Zegras and the defenseman and NHL draft. Name it, right? For me,
Yeah.
is better at Cooley and maybe Catton or Elzinesius.
Okay. So my concern with that, so listen, I agree with everything you just said. An easier way maybe of getting to what you're saying though, coach, is instead of trading Gooley, if you know that all these other teams are going to really highly value, if the defensemen in this upcoming draft are as valuable and as good as everyone thinks, maybe Montreal just trades their first round draft pick for whoever that top 6 player is going to be, rather than going through the trouble. Because trading somebody, trading Goulet and getting a defenseman in this year's draft, that player is going to be several years behind the rest of their core, right? So I think an easier way to get to what you're saying is, because what you're saying is that the defenseman that they're getting in this year's draft is going to be as good or better than Goulet, right? So other teams are going to know that as well. So why not just trade whoever's looking for that defenseman, like in Anaheim or whoever's looking to get him or get a really good high-end defenseman in the draft, just trade that draft pick next year to get the top 6 player that you want to get. Now, on the subject of Zegras, he's not a guy that at this point for me that I would want to build my team around. So right now he's a 60, 65 point player over his first 2 seasons. I know Anaheim is a terrible team, but minus 21, minus 24 his first 2 seasons. I know that's not the best statistic, but just from an eye test, watching Zegras play, and I know, young players, it takes them a while to kind of learn the game and everything else. I just don't know if he would be the best in Montreal, in terms of, someone who, think of PK, right? Like, fans love watching PK, but it's a very difficult environment to not know how to play hockey properly, right? Like, every single thing he's going to do is going to be under the microscope. And of course, he's going to be great for highlights and things like that. I just don't know if he's the kind of player that you're going to win a Stanley Cup with in your top 6, right? Like, do you really see Zegras as somebody that is going to learn how to play the game 2 ways? Like, Montreal's just in the process of building a culture of playing the right way. Are you really going to bring in a guy? And then you have the maybe the risk of, you already have Cole Caulfield that is bought into the existing system. You bring in literally his best friend. If his best friend doesn't buy into the same system, you might lose Cole Caulfield too, right? Like, might end up being a negative influence on Cole Caulfield, who is now you're trying to get him to buy into playing the right way. So there's a lot of things that makes me nervous about Zegras, but I don't. So for me, Zegras would not be the guy that I would target. But I totally understand and am supportive of Montreal either trading Goulet or their first round draft pick if it can get them a player like a Cutter Gauthier, a left-handed, big scoring winger that is going to be able to fit in that top 6. But for me, Coach, I think Zegras would drive you absolutely nuts watching you. Like, I can just imagine you doing the play-by-play, and I can imagine our chat here. They might think that they would like watching Zegras every night, but I can guarantee you he would drive you absolutely bananas and would get on your nerves because he does not really play hockey the right way at all.
Everybody in NHL does not play the right way until they get to 24, 25, 26 years old.
I don't believe that.
So for me, it would be about that. It's not signed yet. Now, what Chris said at the chat, Marko, I apologize, but what Chris said, he have already lined out an agreement with the Montreal Canadiens. Is going to sign a contract when he's going to move on to NCAA to become a professional. The chat was talking about that. Patrick, you have no contract. Chris say, yes, contract. Yes, he had no contract, but the agreement is already done between Montreal, because some people thinking he could be another Cutter Gauthier and maybe not coming to Montreal. He will come to Montreal. You have no problem with that part of it.
Yeah, Hudson is. I don't have any concern about Hudson eventually being in Montreal. I don't think I don't think he has a contract yet. Like, he hasn't signed his contract with Montreal. But I from what you hear from Kent Hughes, the confidence level is pretty high. And yeah, so like Michael, I have watched Zegras on the ice in practice at Anaheim, and I wanted to throw up.
Yeah.
Again, like, I'm watching. The highlights are fun to watch, would there be some great moments having Zegras play with Montreal? Like, I can guarantee, like he would be the guy that Hockey Night in Canada would focus on and Sportsnet would focus on. I really don't think that you build a winning team with a guy like Zegras, coach. I just really, really don't. Especially in the playoffs. Like, I just don't see
Now,
him.
Zegras are more point at Suzuki during his first 2 years in NHL.
Yeah, I don't. I don't find that hard to believe. He's got 60. He's averaging 65 points. Pretty much. And this
He
year,
had
obviously,
65, 61, 65. And right now we have 7 and 19. But he got hurt all year long for sure.
yeah,
Uh,
40%, 40% on faceoffs. So I don't really consider him a center. Like, he's probably going to play
but
wing.
Suzuki was the same way at the end of the night.
Yeah, I just don't see Zegras playing center at all.
Me, I see him as a winger
Yeah, for
in
sure. Like,
NHL. And is a guy can really run your power play.
yeah, like he's a very good. He's an elite playmaker. I think we need more of a, like you've talked about, coach. We need a goal scorer. I think more so a left-handed goal scorer. That obviously I don't want like somebody who's one-dimensional that all he does is shoots. But for me, I think Zegras is very much a perimeter player. And that's very hard to build a winning culture with. Like, so let's assume that they would do that, right? So I think the first line for Montreal is locked up pretty good, right? You've got, I think, moving forward, you've got Caulfield, Suzuki, and Slavkovsky. We all like the chemistry there. They seem to complete each other really well. So you've got arguably, and coach, this was my headline from last show about how, what if, like it's been very hard with Doc's injury and Newhook's injury. We don't know what we have with those players, right? But you'd assume that Doc is going to be your second line center. So arguably then, so Zegras is not going to be playing with Caulfield, right? Which would be a natural because they played together at the US program. He's probably going to be playing with Doc. So Doc is also more of a playmaker, and so is Zegras. So who's the goal scorer that's playing on that line with as a right hand shot
But that's the
in your
way they
top
had to
top?
get. They're missing two. Right. If you look about the lineup, they're missing at least a two top six forward.
Okay.
So they
Okay.
will have to have it because they don't. I don't think so. Dak is a playmaker as a Zuski or as a Zegras. For me, Dak is more like the guys go behind, puck retriever the puck, and then he can drive the net. He are not afraid to go around the net, all that stuff. So you need to have a playmaker
Yeah,
around
yeah.
him for that
Yeah.
part. Now,
But
like
he is more of a
Caulfield, they got
playmaker than a
Sakaski
shooter.
right there. So let's see, we have
Yeah.
Sakaski there. So we have
Yeah.
missing right now two players play with Doc. That's what you have to trade. Uh, People want to trade Lane Hudson or trade Kenan Cole or whatever you want to trade, but you have to do. If not, I don't know how they can fill up those spots. Other the fact NHL draft and the NHL draft you're going to get this year, I don't see any one of them going to make the Montreal Canadiens in the next 2 or 3 years. So can Montreal are able to wait 3 years or at least 2 years and then he just start his NHL career, play top 6? It's not guaranteed about that. So at the end of the day, they have to make a trade, Marco, or they have to sign a UFA.
I
That's
think they're more likely to do a trade, coach. Like, so for those of you who didn't watch our last show, we talked about basically that there's two phases in what Kent Hughes is doing, right? So there is the asset collection, and then there's the roster construction. In that interview that you were talking about with Antisham and RDS, he was very clear about this, right? So they're still in the asset collection phase right now, but they think that maybe at the end of next year is really where they're going to be moving to do that roster construction. So to me, sorry, at the end of this year is when they're really going to start to do that. Not the end of next year, at the end of this year. So to me, that is a very sneaky way of Kent Hughes saying, at the draft this year, I'm willing to trade my draft pick. I'm also willing to trade assets. So of course they're going to do all their scouting and everything else, but coach, if they're reading the board like we are, and they know that they need the organizational need is for a top end offensive player to play in their top six, preferably a left-handed shot. They're not seeing it unless they're winning the lottery, right? So unless you win the lottery, if you're Kent Hughes, you're going there with the idea already understood that you're open for business, coach. You're ready to trade that draft pick. You're ready to not only trade your first round draft pick, but you're also ready to maybe put other assets in play that you have, depending on what's out there. And again, like what other kind of like little secret situations like the Cutter Gauthier are out there? There's, because if you asked us 2 weeks ago, coach, like, is Cutter Gauthier in play? Nobody would have thought he was in play, right? So you never know kind of what's going on with other teams and what assets might be available, right? So to me, I think the most likely outcome is, coach, like, I don't know if we should put that much work into thinking about who Montreal is going to draft, because I seriously believe that they're going to just move that pick. I really, really do.
Now, they could move that pick for sure, but we'll see how they can get in return. That's not easy to get a player like that in NHL. That's the only thing. Because the only way I can see that is a team are really looking for a defenseman, Marco. Like a team are 24, 25, 26, right? And they have a solid forward and they want to get a new defenseman right there. But yeah, so many speculation. We can pass all year long together to talking about different players or anything like that. But this is a way they can go that direction. They can make a. I think the rumor for Zegras, I think I was a Baron Harris plus a second round pick or a first round pick. I think I read this today for that one there. For that. Now, talking about Cooley, because I want to clarify that, right? On the 1 to 10, or give you EOD, because a lot of people in the chat, they believe they should never trade Cooley. Are you on the side never trade Cooley, or you think you could trade Cooley or not?
I'm definitely on the camp that you can definitely trade Cooley. Like, listen, I really like Caden Gooley as a player, and I think he has potential to have like a 15-year career in the NHL. But it's one of those things, like Montreal, you have to play the cards that are dealt. And Montreal just has such a huge surplus of left-handed defensemen that in order to really, like I was saying, guys, there's two phases. There's the collecting assets, and then once you've collected a whole bunch, you're never drafting with the idea of drafting to build a team right there. Like, you have a certain criteria of what kind of players you want to draft in terms of character, speed, like, there's certain characteristics that you look for, but you're not drafting by position or by skill at the draft. You just choose the best players you can, and then when you're finished that phase, you go on to phase two, which is to put all the puzzle pieces together and build it. So if once they get into phase two, in order to get the top six, one of the puzzle pieces they're missing is a high-end scoring winger to go on that second line and on the first unit power play that is a left-hand shot. That is the piece that they don't have, and it's very hard to get. So in order to go get that, though, from another place, you have to trade something of equal value and something that you're willing to give up. And
so here you go, guy. I will make you a trade right now, Patrick. Caden Cooley for Brady Tkachuk.
I don't think Ottawa would do that, but
no. Yes. But Ottawa, who said the Feather would never trade Jonathan Huberdeau?
Yeah, Ottawa is so deep at left-handed defensemen, though, that I don't think that would be a fit for them. Like, they already have. Arguably, right now they're looking at trading Chychrun because they have too many left-handed defensemen.
No, right? But they maybe gave up on Shabbat.
Maybe. I think it's more likely that they trade.
But my
Chychrun.
point behind that's what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
I'm talking about like if you get a player like at that level, a guy can physical everything. That's what I'm talking about. Because he said you should never trade or don't talk about trade Caden Cooley. Have a player like that, I would consider to open up my door and to at least listen to get a player like Brady Tkachuk on my team.
You'd be crazy not to make that trade in particular, but even if it's not to the level of Brady Tkachuk, right? Like, even if it's like a 35 goal scorer that is big and can play the right way, then yeah, you make that trade. But again, not because we don't think Gouli is not going to be an NHL player and be potentially like he could be a captain on another team probably, right? And I know that's hard to let go, but guys, you have to give to get back. And one thing that you have to also consider, guys, Caden Gouli, he's never played a full season in the NHL, right? He's been kind of injury prone. So it's a bit of a, some might say like there's a huge risk to trading somebody like Caden Gouli, but is it also a huge risk to keep him because he's had a lot of injuries? And to be honest, like the one critique that I would have of Caden Gouli is he's a bit reckless with how he carries himself on the ice. Like he often positions himself in very vulnerable ways. Like he's not always straight. Like he's always leaning forward, and he often when he goes into the boards, like checking people, he's sometimes in a weird position, and he just looks like somebody that's going to get injured a lot in his career. I hope that's not the case, but so for all those reasons, I would be willing to trade Caden Gouli for the right player.
Yeah, and
For
that's the
sure.
point behind that. That we talk about that. That's at the end of the day. That's you don't go lower, right? And again, the only way you trade Kachuk, Marco, is maybe you get Cole as first round pick. Maybe you get something in return, right? That's
Yeah, you would
that's the
have to.
point they will open up there. And again, we could I talk about him with that. Maybe we can consider the top best players in NHL at 24, 25 years old, younger, and look about what we kind of trade we can get. It's not coming in my head right now, but I'm just
Yeah.
thinking about that way. That's the reason you can trade possible.
Yeah, like if you're Montreal, like a good, let's say you were to go to Winnipeg and say, hey, I'm really interested in Rory who's the guy for the US? I said his name earlier. The guy that played in the US team, Rory McGutchery, what's his name again?
Oh no, you talk about make macro
Yeah,
team or something like that.
yeah, I can't remember his name, but that guy, like
Rock,
so
Rock D.
McGroarty. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Rory McGroarty. So if you were to target a guy like that, who to me is even a better power forward than Cutter Gauthier, to be honest, um, that like to me that's the kind of guy that Rory McGutchery, that's something that I would target, right? Like Winnipeg is a team that is right now first in the NHL. They might want to take a run here, so again, not just that player in particular, but you're looking for opportunities like that, right? Like you're looking for somebody that's been drafted in the top 10 over the last 3 years, and you're looking for a good trade partner. But there's no question that Montreal at this point, this summer, they're going to start looking to utilize the assets that they have and try to move it in a way so that they can, because it's all about getting the puzzle pieces that you're missing, coach. And I invite anyone in the chat, like, what's your opinion? Like, what pieces are Montreal missing? If you look at Montreal's lineup, tell us if you disagree with us. But like the big thing that they're missing, because they have Slavkovsky, who's going to be playing top left on the left wing on the top line. But after that, you don't really have that many left-handed shots. And if you look at Montreal's power play, coach, you've talked about this before. You've got Caulfield for a one-timer on one side, but you've got nobody for a one-timer on the left side. Slavkovsky, I think he's going to be more somebody that plays either in front of the net or as the bumper. He's not somebody that's going to be one-timing the puck. So somebody who can play on your second line, maybe be like a 35 goal scorer to supplement what Caulfield is going to do. To me, that's the big piece that they're missing. You could argue that they don't have an elite center, but those are really hard to get, guys. So I think we've already understood that it's going to be a committee by center. It's going to be Suzuki, Doc, and whoever kind of wins out that third position. I think that's kind of what it's looking for in terms of centers. But guys, curious, like, you can't just say top six talent. You can't just say we need another elite. Like, what specific style of player? Because are they going to need? Because at this point, this is where you're starting to build out your roster, starting to construct it. So and again, this is the big disadvantage that Ken Hughes has, is that he hasn't been able to see Doc and Newhook play a full season. So it's going to be challenging for him to analyze the team he has and know exactly what he needs. But it sounds, based on his interview that he did, that that's kind of the next step that they're going to be doing, right? Is they're going to start putting the puzzle pieces together to really understand what they need to move out this season. So should be an interesting draft, Coach. I think it's going to be another rock and roll kind of draft for Candy Hughes this year.
Do you trade Coley for Jordan Carew? 27 goals, 37 goals, 75 points, 73 points in the last 2 seasons, 24 years old.
No, he's a right-hand shot. We have too many right-hand shots.
He's a right shooter.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we really, really need a left-hand shot, Coach. Like, we have so many right-hand shots.
But you can fix on your top 6.
Yeah, like I like Jordan Kyrou for sure as a player, but again, like you're going to have like almost 5 out of your top 6 players that are all right-hand shots. Your power play is going to look like garbage. Like you need some variety there. Like
yeah, but you don't have no shooter right shot on your top 6.
Caulfield?
That's it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So
you put Kiro on the second line with Kirby Doc?
Sure. Yeah, that could work. But I still think the pressing need, because we have so many right-hand shots, like, you have Ylonen, you have Gallagher, you have Anderson. Like those are still guys that are going to be around for the next couple of years here, right? You got Beck, who's also a right-hand shot. A lot of the players that we have coming up are right-hand shots. So I think you really need to get a left-hand shot.
Lefty said you can have a Winson back for a second-round pick. GSM is willing to trade Cole Caulfield for Carter Gauthier.
I would, yeah. Guys, like, I love Cole Caulfield, but I think Cole Caulfield is a very one-dimensional player, right?
Now, in the chat, guys, all right, and you, Marco, Patrick Leblanc, he believes Coley is a quarterback power play like Quinn Hughes or any defenseman of that level. You guys in the chat, do you believe Caden Coley is that kind of player? He believes he is going to be like Markov.
No, not a chance. Not a chance. Like, he could potentially be a serviceable player on your second unit power play, for sure. The reason St. Louis hasn't really given him that chance right now is because they don't want to overwhelm him. Like, he's already playing a lot of minutes. You can already see at some points this season, like, it's a little overwhelming for him. Like, he's playing very well, but at some points you can see, especially playing with Barron is not the steadiest at times as well too. So maybe one day he'll play second unit power play, but yeah, I like, he can do good rush plays, but he's not really somebody who is going to be whipping the puck around, in a power play. I don't think.
For me, I see him like a Devon Tays.
Yeah, he's good rush defenseman. He's got his skating is amazing. He has good offensive reads, so he's a very good rush defenseman. But in terms of creative plays on the power play, like,
I don't see that.
No, he's not deceptive at all, right? Like, I've never seen him deke out someone, which is what you need to do on the power play. You need to beat guys one-on-one.
Right? The options, find a hole. Now, he's a good player, right? But to be that kind of player, because Montreal Canadiens, that's what they're missing. I think for me, that's what you don't trade Lane Hudson.
No, Lane Hudson is, like we said this last show, Coach. Like, you never say that somebody is, untouchable, but for me, Lane Hudson is as close as possible to untouchable, because Montreal doesn't have another player like that in their whole organization, arguably since Andrei Markov. Maybe Gustafson, which came in on the 2021 run in the playoffs. He was, a pretty good power play quarterback, but the problem with him is you could barely play him 5-on-5, right? But since Markov, you haven't had somebody that has been at that level in terms of being a power play specialist. So Lane Hudson is going to be critical for sure. And the good news, guys, we don't have to be too worried about him. He's a Chicago Blackhawks fan, so he shouldn't. it's not going to be a Cutter Gauthier thing where he used to be a Penguins fan and he didn't want to play for the Flyers, so it should be okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that one there. Question for the chat. He said, do you think Montembeault is going to be a goaltender number one?
We talked about this on the last show. Like, I think what makes a good number one goaltender in the NHL is consistency. So the gap between an NHL goalie and even an AHL goalie is just consistency, because somebody in the AHL can come up and steal a game in the NHL, but they just can't do it for many games in a row. So I think for Samuel Montembeault, there's no question. Last year, he proved that he was an NHL goalie, and now he's proving that he has the potential to be a number one goaltender in the NHL. The only data that we don't have is, can he do it over several seasons? And can he do it over, and we've said this before, you're not going to see many goalies playing 60, 70 games in the NHL anymore. It's just not the reality. So, what is the definition of a number one goaltender nowadays? Is it 55 to 60 games? I think that's probably closer. So once we see Montembeault be, and right now with the 3 goalie rotation, it's very hard for Montreal to prove that out. So I would say, let's see Montembeault over 2 years play 55, 60 games. And if he's able to maintain that kind of trajectory and that kind of performance, then you'll have your answer. But an interesting question, Coach, is if Montembeault does continue playing at that rate, does he become one of Canada's best goaltenders, and is he maybe a candidate for the next Olympics? That's another interesting thing, other than Carter Hart, right?
Yeah, absolutely right. Patrick said, I don't think we understand the Coley is way up there as far as value. Again, Coley is a great hockey player behind that, Patrick. It's just with him, we have excellent defensemen. We have Hudson, we have Angstrom, we have Strubble. We have a ton of players left defensemen, and they could draft a player maybe better at him at the net in the NHL draft. So to get something huge in NHL and return, you have to give something like that. A guy like Coley, if you want to go there. Montreal have the facility maybe to have a lot of players right now.
I think the example is like, I know exactly what people are going to say when I say this, but I still think it's valid. The same reason that Montreal was able to trade Romanoff to get Doc is the same reason they can afford to trade Goulet. Now, I'm not saying Goulet is I'm not saying that Romanoff is as good as Goulet. Maybe Goulet has a longer career, and maybe he has a little bit more upside than Romanoff. But it's the same concept, guys. If you were okay with trading Romanoff because they knew that they had Goulet coming, well, I think what really changed things is what we've seen from Struble, right? Like, if we didn't see what we saw from Struble so far, maybe I would have a little bit more hesitation about trading Goulet. But at the end of the day, it's just one of those things. Like, you have the cards that you have. You have to play the cards that you have. You just have too many of these guys. They're going to have to move. So you can either move Harris or Jackeye or somebody a little bit further down in value, but you're not going to get anything for these guys. I guess that is one strategy, Coach. Like, there's players that we've talked about that you could take a risk on, and maybe you get lucky instead of. So here's another strategy, Coach. If you're not willing to spend big and use a big asset to go and get like a for sure elite, kind of left-handed scoring guy, you can go and you can take a risk. Like, you can try to go trade. I've talked about Kaliev in Los Angeles. You could try to go get Podkolzin in Vancouver. Like, maybe somebody who was drafted pretty high, but hasn't really kind of broken out for whatever reason. They didn't get the opportunity. And that kind of player, maybe you can trade a Harris for, or one of those guys, but you're not, it's not like Bergevin used to say, it's not like a PlayStation trade where you can combine a whole bunch of players and all that value of all these players equals one good player from the other team. That rarely happens. So either you're going to trade one of your top assets to get a quality elite asset, or you can continue to try and take risks on players like a Podkolzin, like a Kaliev, like a Wallstrom in New York Islanders, like those kinds of players that they were projected to be high end finishers in the NHL, but for whatever reason, they just haven't been able to do it. Zegras, I would put in that category too, right? So for me, Coach, the trade that I'm not sure I would do Gouli for Zegras, but what was the trade that you said? It was Barron and Harris and a second for Zegras.
I think he was a second half to look again, but I think he was.
So if you're talking about that level of player, like if it was Barron and a second round pick or Barron Harris and a second round pick, I don't think Anaheim would do that because they don't need those kinds of guys. But if it was something like that, then yeah, I would take a risk on Zegras because maybe Martin Saint Louis can turn him around. But I wouldn't be willing to sacrifice Gouli because I think you can use that asset to get something better, in my opinion.
All right, Patrick.
Listen, Coach,
Tim Souza.
Tim Souza? Well, I don't think you're getting him for Caden Gouli. That's for sure.
No, he's talking about the top 3 in 2020. Jake
Yeah.
Sanderson or Caden Coley?
I would probably take Sanderson, to be honest. A little bit more offensive upside. And it seems like he's been a little more reliable in terms of his injury situation. I think Gouli has a little bit more snarl in his game. Like he's a little bit meaner, a little bit more physical and probably more leadership. But I don't know what it is. I have a little bit of concern about Gouli's longevity and his ability to stay healthy.
Jack Quinn or Caden Coley?
Jack Quinn from the Buffalo Sabres, like yeah. No, it's not something I would do. He's again a right-hand shot, not very big. I don't think he complements the top 6 that we have very well.
Marco, you play him, 30 goal with Montreal right away.
Yeah.
Jack Quinn.
Okay, but you're just talking about goal. I'm talking about winning a Stanley Cup, Coach.
But you need those scorers like that.
Yeah, but he's what, like 5'11"?
Yeah, but you're going to have fun. You have to have forward at that level. You have no. It's a guy now with the accuracy shoulder and the net now. So you have those kind of players like that. You look about who win. They don't have all the players like 6'3", 6'4".
Yeah, but we already have like at least 3 players in our top 6 that are under 6 feet.
Lucas Raymond or Caden Coley.
Again, it's another right-hand shot. It's like all the players you're telling me are all right-hand shots.
Yeah, but not by point for the draft. Do you select Lucas Raymond, Jack Quinn before Caden Coley?
In a draft?
Well,
yeah. Well, yeah. Of course, I would draft.
Lucas Raymond is number 4. Jack Quinn is number 8.
Yeah. But okay, so you're asking me if, like, in terms of drafting order, of course, those.
Yeah, that's why we talk in the chat.
Okay. Well, yeah. Like, in terms of draft order, but I thought we were talking about the Habs and who's going to fit in the roster that we have. If you're just talking about,
yeah, but guys, they have to make the playoff first of all. Everybody wants Cody is going to be good in the playoff. He have to make the playoff first of all before they get to become about that. I'm just talking because Patrick said earlier, if they do the draft 2020, Coley would be number 3rd in the draft. Now he said, I forgot Souza, so he'll be number 4. I believe for me, Raymond is better. Sanders at the draft I'm talking about. Sanderson is better. Jack Quinn is better. I will be really careful about Oates, Perfetti, Askarov, and I will tell you I will take Anton Lundell before Coley.
I don't know about Lundell, and I'm not sure about Quinn either. I'd say so Gouli was drafted 18th?
19th? Coley was 16th, and behind him, guys, Montreal could get Dawson Mercer, by the way.
Yeah. So I think maybe he might in a redraft come up in a little bit higher, maybe like 13th, but I don't think he's coming in top 10. I don't think he's coming in top 10.
Yeah.
It
For
depends.
me,
It's hard to say.
I don't see Cole in the top 5 on that NHL draft, Marco.
Top 5? No, I don't think so. I don't think so.
You know what I
Maybe
mean?
it squeezes on the top 10. Again, it depends on the team and what they need. That's another coach. Like, see what I find fascinating, coach, because we've been chatting and going back and forth, thinking about what players Montreal could target. And like I said, almost every single player that we've talked about is a right-handed shooter. And when you really look over the last 4 or 5
I need a
drafts,
right. I need a right one at on my top 6 again.
but it's not your first priority, coach. You already have a like your primary scoring winger is a right-hand shot. You need a secondary scoring, like for your goal scoring to be on the left-hand side for the power play. I'm not saying that eventually you don't need to find a better finisher in your top 6 than Josh Anderson or Brendan Gallagher or Yolonen, but it's not your top priority. Your top priority, in my
I
opinion,
just want
is
a player with talent. Look,
I don't.
you have Panarin and Zibanejad, Marco.
Yeah.
So
That play
if
with
you find a
Kreider.
player commentary with Panarin and with Caulfield on the right side, I don't have no problem with that part over there. Montreal don't have
But
a second shot power play number 2. They have Olenin
they
right
have,
there.
yeah. So, but again, you forgot the other piece in that equation of that line. It's Kreider, a left-hand shot.
I have
So if
Safrowski.
you, yeah, but he's not going to be a shooter like that, coach. He's going to be great
He's
5 on.
a right great shoulder on the left side.
He's
And then
not.
after that, I'm going to get another player. I can switch Flakaski as my number 2. It's for me, it's not matter a right shoulder. I need a right shoulder and a left shoulder. If I have the best talented players, I would take my best, whatever is a right or a left. Not matter for me.
I disagree, coach. Like
By
I
the way,
think
Ketchuk just scored a goal, though. So I just let you
I know
know. I
his
would trade.
value is going up. Yeah, this is not the right time to go trade for him. Listen, coach, I got to jump off though. I stayed a bit later than I was supposed to.
All right, first of all, Marco, thanks so much to stop by tonight. I
Lots of
appreciate
fun.
that you stopped by. We know it would be a very interesting chat tonight. We're about 30 more minutes and it would to stay here. So I will stay alive here. But Marco, wish you an amazing, great night. Think we did this at the last minute. Me and Marco, we talk about this at 7 o'clock tonight. So really appreciate you pop up. And we're going to show you, going to see you tomorrow night. And then the next day, when Montreal play again, the final score, Flyers.
Final score, I think I had Philly winning, so I'll say 3-1 Philadelphia.
What is the score?
3-1 Philly.
Oh, 3-1. You said 2-1 this week, right?
Yeah, Philly was the one that we were losing.
I would go me overtime 3-2.
Is that what you predicted the first time? Yeah.
Well, I would predict the score. I never predict the win the team. I did 3 games in December, Marco, back to back with the final score. But I never said who's going to win the team, win the game. So that's happening.
That's impressive.
All right,
guys.
Good night,
Thank you
Marco.
very much.
Thanks so
Lots
much.
of fun, guys.
Marco Labi, guys, and directly from Hawkesbury was with us tonight. We appreciate a lot to be with us. And Nicolas is going to be in the bed. They need some who can score period. Renat is more the game. Here you go. That's Chris about that one there. The only thing I would say to you, Chris, my only concern, guy, every player is coming from Florida. I'm worried about one thing. And my worry about that, guys, is because Barkov make them better. Remember like Pascal Dupuis with Pittsburgh? Remember Chris Kunitz with Pittsburgh? Remember Al Secord with Chicago? Remember Steve Lammer with Chicago? Sometimes a player beside them make them better. And I said they are not talented players, Chris. But I would love to have Sam Renette, but I think Montreal is still one more year before they get UFA about that. I always learn from Coach Marko and Coach. You're welcome, Larry. Always a pleasure to have you aboard, by the way. Thanks for the chat, Marco. It was great. Marco, it was nice to be with us tonight for sure. Patrick, 22 points and without power play time is a big deal to not play on the power play. One is time to look at this is 20 point extra. Patrick, not really, Patrick. with the Montreal Canadiens about that. Patrick. Last year, right now, is complete his full season. He has 28 points and 80 games. Patrick is minus 21, by the way. Patrick, Caden Cooley, minus 21. Play 20 minutes. What is what all this fun is GSM? Understand where Marko is going. Habs Nation. Thanks for the chat, Marko, Maurice. Go Habs, go GSM. Habs Nation Montreal tomorrow 4-2. Honestly, I think Montreal can win tomorrow 3-2. My only concern, the Flyers got destroyed the last game, or they lost a bad game. I think they will be very hungry and hungry tomorrow at home. But I think Montreal can find a way to get a W tonight, tomorrow night, for sure. King of Gamers, so far I have watched every team play at least 10 times this season, and a team that look like the contender or the Avalanche, Bruin Star, Kings, nice jet. I think you should add the Panthers there, Kings, about that. Okay, next level, the team, Tampa Bay Lightning, Vancouver Canucks. I think the Vancouver are there. So Renat just said the O's first line. I will argue with you about that one, Chris. I like Al Sikor, the scorer 40 goal 1 year. I've been sure I'm great there. Patrick. Again, Patrick, I don't see Caden Cooley play on the power play number 1. That's my point behind that for Caden Cooley. I don't think so. He has the mobility of Quinn Hughes, Patrick. I don't think so. He has the same style of Victor Edmond. I don't think so. Caden Cooley is the same style like Kel McCord and NHL. I don't think so. He have a power play shot like a shot like Noah Thompson for the New York Islanders, in my opinion. I believe that's the one. I don't see that one. After that, well, I can go. Mr. Natat, welcome in the house. Thanks to be with us. Yeah, Nicolas, 11 o'clock maximum. Demande à Ski s'il essaie, lui, que tu ramasses des points sur le power play. Sinon, il ne sera jamais a forward, Patrick. A forward, I agree with you about that, Patrick. A forward, I completely agree with you. Dan Asham is in the house. Dan, your Winnipeg Jet won again tonight. Mr. Green, Philip Jackson is in the house tonight. Independent level, our friend Plav run does not prove you depth consistency team. King, they are consistency king about that. They are coming just behind the Boston Bruins. You have to put King, the Panthers, in my opinion, for sure. Lateral movement not there yet for the power play. I agree with you. Stop putting player saying mode. This is the biggest mistake you can do. Cooley is Cooley. Yeah, but to be a quarterback, Patrick, you have to be that level. Make sense? This is the point. You need to be that level. Like you need to be a Chris Letang. He need to be a Eric Carlson. He need to be at that level to be that power play. Montreal does not have any one of them right now. We have a secondary like Mike Madison. Mike Madison get point with it because he's more mobile. He have a better hands. He have a better vision. But Ken Coley does not have that kind of skill with the Montreal Canadiens. He's not going to get that level with the Montreal Canadiens. He's not this level to play. We have a super shot number 1 of the night. Mr. Larry Lavalley did it again. Larry Lavalley Rivers. Thank you so much, Mr. Larry Lavalley. Did it again, ladies and gentlemen. Consists to contribute at the Hockey Nation Show. Thanks to be with us, everybody, tonight. I appreciate that. I don't think so. He is like Drew Doughty for the Los Angeles Kings. All right. Who I can go? I don't think so. He's like Zach Werenski for the Columbus Blue Jacket. I don't think so. He's like Josh Morrissey for the Winnipeg Jet. That's my point behind that. Patrick. Oui, mon Nicolas. Coach Jet, on win tonight. Mitch Bellin, yes, sir. Coach Jets are play great now. They play Vincent. Jamais eu plus de 25 points en une saison. Maintenant, il ramasse plus parce qu'il a du temps sur le power play. Bien sûr, Patrick. Mais again, Collet is not the same style he's not the same style power play. If he was so good, Patrick, like you said, why they don't use him on the best power play? They have a reason behind that. I'm sure they have a reason why they don't use Collet on unit number 2. He cannot beat Barron. They have a reason behind that. Why he's not there? Yet you consider him to be the best power play for the Montreal Canadiens on unit number 1. I believe he's going to increasing his number at the point on power play, but he's not a fit to distribute the puck left and right like other players and NHL that level. We don't have yet in Montreal. We need to have one. Is it Lane Hudson? I think he is. But you guys, you believe he's too small playing in NHL. But I believe Lane Hudson is the answer for what they're looking for. It could be Koshchenov play in MHL and KHL right now. I don't know. But I don't see him to be that level players play as a power play, Patrick. Said that, right? He's a really great hockey player. The Panthers win tonight 5-1. The public can be worse than this right now, Patrick, about that. Coach, do you think, well, it's Patrick, same thing. Why they don't use Joel Armia on power play? Why they don't use Brendan Gallagher on power play number 1? Right? Because everybody have their specific role. Everybody have their skill and talented. It's just like, you just try to try. It's not that way. They really believe they have more. Adam Camelson added the line. If was not out, Michel Bellin. Good night, Nicolas. Coach, you think the Jets are good enough to win the Stanley Cup this year? I don't think so, Dan. And I thought we said yes, but I don't think so. Zev Lakav is in the house for that. Again, I was leaving out Engstrom and that conversation. Nicholas, this is the underrated players, Nicholas, about Engstrom. I think for me, I never talk about him because I believe he could be the one can step up and to pick up the top 4 for the Montreal Canadiens, Nicholas. They don't use Cody because they need to reduce his production to limit his cost. Abination about that. His cost. You talking about the contract abination, or you talk about his production on the ice on the PK? Browns go deep almost every year. The team mentioned also Panthers make one run, which at the list the team they make it past second round for the playoff. They are a good team but need a playoff experience. They've been there before that, King. I believe for me the Panthers right now are one of the top 5 best team in NHL. King are well balanced. The goaltender, defenseman, and the forward. King, in my opinion, about that. You're welcome, Dana. If you're a Zana or a hockey fan, this is the place to be. Thanks so much, Larry. Very kind of you. Yours is Sit Sharks, and the same way he'll lowball Montembeault for the contract. About that. Not having Montembeault in the first and the net tomorrow is just a very bad message, Patrick. About that. No, they have to run a 3 goaltender, Patrick. This is the reason why. The person he has the width of the puck on the Reddit for sure. Mitch, right? For that. Are you telling me, Patrick, like Rick Bengal who said to me, do you believe they would tell to the coach, don't use the players on that situation because he's going to get a higher contract salary cap? Do you believe any team in NHL guys is going to say to the coach, hey, don't use him on power play or don't use him on special team. Don't let play over 16 minutes because his next contract is going to be higher. Do you really believe this is a conversation between the coach and the general manager? Patrick? Ab not lose anything by putting somebody else, Madison, at the point on the power play. The power play is terrible. I think he's getting better. Power play, Patrick, with 18.3%. It's not perfect, but this is what they have right now. They don't have anybody else. Patrick. What do you do if you are the wall, you are in the playoff window and have no way to get through your season because Avalanche start or have after to really start the season? But the key behind that, King, is to see where you at, right? What kind of team you are? Are you a team really a top 5 in NHL? Are you a team at the playoff 13, 14, 15, 16? You already know, I don't know, if you are I don't know, the Blues example. Can the Blues become? Can the Blues will go to buying players, but they know they're not going to make it. So those teams, I don't think so. They won't going to buy a lot. Maybe fix a hole that just give a rewards for the players, but I don't think so. Anything else? But we'll see. Ben oui, ça fait du baseball. Pourquoi pas au hockey? Whatever Gordon does should be interesting. Abination. Yes, is a conversation about that abination. I'm not sure. Yes, Maurice, the Panthers guys are a really good team. They are really well balanced, in my opinion. I really believe they are. Right now, guys, the Panthers right now are 1 point behind the Boston Bruins in the standing, and they have played one game more. They have right now 5 point in front of the Toronto. Toronto play 2 games less on the wild card. And the league, guys, the Florida Panthers are number 6 in NHL. 54 points, and they have 1 point behind the Colorado, a more game overall. So it's a team carrying 65 winning percentage this year. So I believe for me, Florida Panthers are the same conversation like the Avalanche, the Boston Bruins, the Canucks, the Winnipeg Jets. Interesting to see that, guys. Number 1, the Jet. Number 2, Canucks. Who said at the beginning of the year the Boston Bruins will be the top 3 in NHL? That's crazy. The King guy dropped all the way to 11, but they play only 37 games. They won the next 2. They lost tonight, guys. The Kings, after they take the lead 2-0, they gave 3 goals, 2 and a third period, and 1 in overtime. They lost 3-2. About that. For that one. Luciano, welcome in the house, Mr. Luciano. Thanks to be with our Canadian show. Madison is going to bat on power play, and PK should be playing Strubble instead. Only reason I can think about. Imagine you buy a ticket tomorrow for the app game. A Primo is having a bad game until Montebo is hitting popcorn the Prescott. Can you get a refund about that? But it's not the way you do that, Patrick, right? Because you can get there. Whatever happened, Patrick, at Montebo, they gave 3 bad goals. So what you do? Are you going to give back the money to the fans too? It's applied to everyone. Who have a better record on the road this year, Patrick? Is it Primo or Montembeault? Can you check the stat, Patrick? Who has a better record on the road? Primo or Montembeault, Patrick? Just answer to that question, Patrick. I'll give you 5 minutes. Go get the stat right now. How many times Primo lost a game this year on the road? What is goal against average on the road, Patrick? Primo. And then how much is it? What is his goal save percentage, Primo, on the road, Patrick? And then during the time you do that, then go get Montembeault, check his record on the road, and check after that what is save percentage on the road, is goal against average on the road, Patrick. This you want to know? I can tell you exactly the number, Patrick. If you want to know that, I will tell you exactly. Patrick, Montembeault right now, he need to play Edmonton Saturday, and he need to win to prove to all the fans of Montreal Canadiens, Montembeault is a solid goaltender number 1 in NHL. Right? So that's what he need to be Saturday to be ready against them. Well, but all right. You want to get them? We're going to get there. Montembeault, guys, on the road. All right, Montembeault game log in 2023-24. So Montembeault guy played 18 times this year. He played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games on the road, Samuel Montembeault. He lost and shootout. He lost a game against St. Louis. And then he went on the road against Anaheim and Columbus. Now it's 2-1-1. Then he lost in overtime, so it's 2-1-2. And then he lost again on the road against Tampa Bay Lightning. Now it's 2-2-2. And then finally he went against Dallas Stars, guys, at 3-1-1. During that time, guys, his save percentage on the road has been only one time over 9-0-1-0. 2 times on the 7 game, Patrick. He has 8-5-3. He has 8-3-3, and he has 8-0-0 on the road. 3 of the 7 game Marko, Patrick Montembeault has. Now let's go with Primo on the road. Caden Primo on the road. So Caden Primo, guys, play on the road this year. He played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games. All right. So I apologize because he lost the last game again. He lost the last game on the road against the Canada Hurricane on that game. Now on the road, he has 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1 on the road. Save percentage on the road, 9.58. He has 9.39. He has 9.31 on the road. 3 of the 5 games he played. The other game is at 9.05. Only his last start is at 8.67 against the Canada Hurricane. We know the Montreal are not very good overall about that part of there. That's the reason Patrick is on the between the pipe tomorrow. Is the best goaltender for the Montreal Canadiens on the road this year. And Martin Saint-Louis wants to try to win the game over there. San Jose, guy, you can put anybody. Steve Penny to win against San Jose. You have going a chance to win. You have the best goaltender, Samuel Montembeault. He has to play against the Edmonton Oilers Saturday. I can wait to see his performance now against Edmonton. Patrick, I disagree with you. Primo on the road is not at 50%. He is exactly at 5 game is exactly at 75%, Patrick, on the road. Now, Montembeault, guys, on 7 game, he has only 3 good start on the road, Patrick, on that one. So I don't know we're coming down. How about that? I cannot fall in love with that player. Your heart would be always broken, Gary Cournoyer. Ducks, Patrick Leblanc stand outside the stadium and he said Montembeault is played by a ticket. The Primo is played down by tickets. Talk about that one over there. For that one over there. But no, that's the reason he played tomorrow night, Patrick. That's exactly what Martin St. Louis used, Primo. Primo is not going to play at home. Not going to play at home. Now, if you want to use Montembeault Thursday against San Jose to give him an easy game, and then use him against Edmonton Oilers. Mr. Kane, after checking stat all three goalies, Montembeault is your starter, and he has to continue to his consistency. Allen is better que Primo, but he will not get any better. Primo only has 8 starts. What is Montembeault record visit contender? Roy, here we go. Now he have a better record because the last 2 games, but Primo, again, the team in the playoff. Vegas, he lost in shootout. He lost. He beat the Boston Bruins 1. He lost again. Tampa Bay are not the playoff. He lost the Kings. He beat Islanders. So his record, again, the contender, guys, is 3-2-2 overall. But at the end of the day, he played only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 game out of the 39, again the player and again the team in the playoff. So honestly, it's 1, 2, 3, 3-1 is 4-1, 4-2, 4-1 is record. Again, the best team in the NHL. But again, he's only played 7 game of the is 18 game. Honestly, I have 17 starter game. I go with you, King, about that. Montreal is a team player, and what we are talking about is not issue. Gary, it's hard to judge Montembeault again a contender right now because we are rebuilding team. Kane, about that. It's about consistency at the end of the night. That's the most important thing, guys, is consistency. That's what you're looking for the goalies. Whatever who they are, they have to perform at that level. The Coyotes, the Bruins, guys, 2-2. The Edmonton Oilers only winning 2-1 against the Chicago Blackhawks, by the way. And the Jets are winning 5-0 again, or win tonight 5-0 against the Blue Jackets, guys. Do you think Hughes will move a goalie before the trade deadline? Are going to get ready 3 goals for the season? For me, I believe he will keep all 3, but he said on the TV last night he will try to move one of the 3. It looked like he doesn't want to trade for trade. He's wait for to get the right package deal. I would not be surprised at the trade deadline he become a team where he can become a third party on front trade because he have $5 million to spend. Possible he can trade Jake Adams somewhere to at a trade deadline, and he's going to get at a higher price compared right now. But I see that manage stay together until they can. And for me, it's not the right things because, like Patrick, he would like to get Montembeault tomorrow night. He is right. He need to play more Montembeault to honestly to know exactly if he's a goaltender number 1 or a goaltender number 2. He have to let play a Primo because Primo we need to be on the to have more goal as a goaltender because we already know what Jake Allen is. So this week for me, you don't dress Jake Allen. That's it. That's it. That's it. That's all. I'll be honest with you. I don't. I use tomorrow Primo. I use Montembeault at San Jose. You don't travel Montembeault. You keep Montembeault at home, and then Saturday you use again Montembeault because you play again the best team, one of the best team right now in NHL, Edmonton Oilers. But I will not use Montembeault on the traveling, play a game, and then play again Saturday. I would prefer to him play Thursday night, San Jose Sharks, get that mental game, a good game, get a W, pop up for the game for Saturday again Edmonton Oilers. You return Montembeault, you play Primo, and that's it. That's all. You have your two goaltender. Primo have to get good on the road, and that gave a better chance overall. Montembeault play at home, did not travel with the team. Allen, he become the backup on the bench. Is something going wrong, and that's it. That's all. That will be the way I will run that this weekend. But Primo would be competent with Montembeault for number one, and that's a great news. It's happened. Pierre Martin, welcome in the house. Don't forget, guys, to click on the likes. Do you believe there are any chance that you make a shocking decision? Is moving Montembeault missing? No, King. No, not at all. I don't see that. I don't see that. I don't see that overall. Larry, the administration can make any decision on goalie. How many to have? Sound like they have a bad problem with taking responsibility for the decision. Well, the reason behind that, Larry, they don't want to lose anyone. And for me, I believe they will. I would not be surprised they keep all of them together until to the end. But we'll see. As Primo won at home yet or just on the road? Mark, I think good question. I think he did not. But lost. He played only 3 games at home, and he has gave 15 goals in 3 games. He has an average of 5.00 and a save percentage mark of 86-83. He's about 84.5 or to 85.0 on the at home mark. Quand on goal sur la tête comme samedi, tu le fais remettre dans le net, point final. I expect Linson to be picked at the waiver tomorrow. I feel the same way. You're welcome, Larry. How you describe a player like Frédéric Gaudreau? It's a prototype of 200 players, King. He played on the second center of the Minnesota Wild. They tried to bring him like a Philippe Dano. I don't see that level, but this is a good pick as the third center. Good on the face-off and overall. Mitch, have a good night, my friend. We're going to get there very soon. It's already 11 o'clock here, too. So that's happening here, guys, about that. If you don't click on the like, that'd be great, guys. What a great night of the Hockey Nation tonight, Habs Nation podcast. We did everything we want to talk about. That's the most important thing. We talk about David Rebacker, Coder Gauthier, the trade from Montreal. We talk about Trevor Zegras. You guys, you spoke. You guys, you tell us what you think. You give us all your opinion about this. And that's the beauty of the chat here. We have different opinion. We see the game differently. And that's make this chat very grateful and thankful. We want to thank Ron with Kings at moderator. I think Luciano and then our top pop up at some point. We thank all of them. We want to thank Marko Larabi to be the co-host of the show a little bit earlier. We want to thank many of you be with us tonight. We want to thank Mr. Larry Lavallée for the super chat. And do we see RJ Calabro tonight? I cannot remember. for that one there. For the Expo. But a goaltender, Mr. Andy McGaffigan, Primo, about that. If you see him that way, I would say Samuel Montembeault est more like the Woody Freeman of the Montreal Canadiens. On a échangé goalie, Ray Barker, puis fait un goalie Montembeault 1/3. C'est à peu près ce qu'on a fait. Have the good show again. Bonne nuit, mon Marc. Bonne nuit, bonsoir. Would you trade Allen? Yes, I would trade Allen. Then, if it's possible for the Montreal Canadiens, for sure. For that. Here we go.
You are awesome. You are amazing. You are the best. And remember, you have greatness inside of you.
Yes, you have greatness inside of you. Yes, you are the reason why we accept you every single night because you bring some great knowledge in the chat tonight. I have so many people to thank. It's a pleasure to have you about. Patrick, by the way, you never gave me your bet of the night. I missed, my friend. So what I missed, Pierre, but not problem. Have a good night, Mr. Nartap. You're welcome, Larry. Again, we appreciate that. Be well, BL. Find a way not only dominate your day, but find a way to dominate the first half of what? Your 2024. Until the next time, my friend, have an amazing, great night. Sweet dream. And the Hockey Nation and the Habs Nation Podcast want to tell you one more thing. We love you, people. Have an amazing, great night, everybody. Thank you. See you tomorrow night, 7 o'clock. Montreal always play at Flowers. Here we go. Nick Zuski tomorrow. Can't wait come soon. Good night, Dan. Last the bet, the Toronto went by 1.5, but Bernier 2 shot on the goal is only have 1. Here we go. Sorry to hear that. Here we go, guys. Have a good night. Watch my Frenchy and Thailand. Oh. Booyah!